LoveLore Library. Chapter 106. Not to mention the clothes on their bodies, everyone was more or less the same after these 3 days. The imperial exam was originally a torturous thing, and there were many who looked like they had suffered greatly after coming out. There were even a few who directly collapsed on the ground. Chen Jingmin's state was different from everyone else. His face was dark and his eyes were red. It looked like he hadn't slept for the past 3 days. He was on the verge of exploding with rage. At this moment, he seemed to be unable to suppress it. Those who knew Chen Jingmin all looked askance. Even if he didn't do well, he shouldn't be wailing like this. Moreover, he had such a fiancée. Who knew how many people were jealous of his good luck? If it hadn't been decided early, it wouldn't have been his turn. Brother Chen, what are you? Chen Jingmin paused, then fiercely rubbed his face and forced a smile. I'm sorry, everyone. Something happened at home. When it's settled, I'll catch up with everyone. Everyone was enlightened. Based on their understanding of Chen Jingmin, even if he didn't do well, he wouldn't lose his composure to this extent. However, looking at him, something must have happened before he entered the exam. They just didn't know if it affected his normal performance. They hurriedly told him to go back quickly. Everything else could be discussed later. Chen Jingmin nodded and left without another word. Not only was his footsteps hurried, but every step he took was very big. He had already noticed the Chen family members who were coming to greet him. Chen Jingmin saw their expressions and understood that they all knew. He clenched his fists. Not to mention the back of his hands, even the veins on his neck were popping out. Did Li Ryu look for you? Did you go to the Luo family? Although he lowered his voice, it still sounded like the growl of a wild beast. His mother's heart ached terribly. My son, it's been hard on you these few days. Let's go home first, okay? Mother, answer me. Don't talk about these useless things now. Everyone saw that he was insistent. If he didn't get an answer, he would probably continue to be in a deadlock. Mother Chin could only nod with difficulty. What about the engagement? My engagement with cousin Wan, has it been cancelled too? Chen Jingmin asked anxiously and cautiously. His slightly trembling voice and body were a clear indication that he was afraid. Only then did the Chens realize that Jingwan was right. If they hadn't told him about the annulment of the engagement directly, they didn't know what he would have done. Everyone's body stiffened and their lips trembled. Removed. Had it been removed? Ha! Mother, answer me. Chen Jingmin grabbed his mother's arm tightly. No, not yet. Your cousin Wan said to wait until after the court exam. She wants you to do well. If you don't do well, she will ignore you. Obviously, Mother Qin had realized how important Jingwan was to Chen Jingmin. She was trying to mislead him. Sure enough, Chen Jingmin's anger turned into joy. She really said that. Is it true? Did this mean that there was still a chance for a turnaround? Perhaps he was too happy to notice, or perhaps he didn't want to admit that he was afraid. He was lying to himself that he didn't want to pay attention to the Qin family's worries and uneasiness. Chen Jingmin let go of Mother Chen's arm and prepared to leave. My son, where are you going? Mother Chen instinctively grabbed him. Of course I'm going to find cousin Wan. I think I did well in the exam. Of course I have to share this good news with her. Although the Qin family looked at him and smiled, he seemed even more off than before. However, what was worth being happy about was that his performance didn't seem to be affected. He never boasted about this. You have the nerve to go in this state. Furthermore, she's most likely still angry. How can she meet you? Third Old Master Qin was indeed someone who had been in the bureaucracy for many years. Compared to his breakdown state when the incident happened, he had already adjusted and became calm. He even seemed a little cold. Then what should I do? Chen Jingmin was at a loss again. Third Old Master Chen suddenly realized that it was a good decision to withdraw from this marriage. If a man wanted to achieve great things, how could he be so fickle in love? His elder sister's granddaughter had a great influence on his grandson. If she really married into the Chen family, his son would be drowned in love. What else could the Chen family count on? However, he also knew that now was not the time to reprimand him. The most important thing was to appease his grandson and let him prepare for the court examinations. This was the most important thing. Of course I'm going home. Wash up and rest well. Prepare for the court examinations. I'll look for her after I get a good ranking. Yes. Grandfather, you're right. Go home. Go home now. The Chen family saw their son walking like a headless fly. They were anxious. However, they had no choice. It was good enough that he was willing to go home. After returning, Chen Jingmin was very obedient. He did whatever he was told and seemed to have returned to normal. In reality, it was just that. The past 2 days seemed peaceful. However, in reality, that was not the case. Luo Peishan had said that he would look for Commandery Prince Jing. It was not as simple as that. As for Luo Peishan, because of his neutral position, other than official matters, he rarely interacted with others in private, except for a few people who shared the same interests. Suddenly, he came to Commandery Prince Jing, which could not attract the attention of others, especially since he had been closely watched these days. It would be better if they did not pay attention. Once they did, what Li Ruyu had done would be completely exposed. Ever since Li Ruyu returned home, she no longer had the courage to offer herself to someone to sleep with. At this moment, she seemed to have finally realized that she might have done something stupid. Thinking about what Jingwan had said, the more she thought about it, the more scared she became. Besides, no matter how domineering she usually was, she was still a spoiled little girl. With all these added together, she couldn't take it and actually had a high fever. In a daze, she only shouted, "Pain," and "Luo Jingwan hit me." A royal commandery princess was hit by an official's daughter. This was unacceptable. Commandery princess consort was furious. However, when the servant wiped Li Ruyu's body, Commandery princess consort found that her daughter's injury was not normal. It did not look like she was hit. Thinking of some possibilities, she was scared out of her wits. She sent all the servant girls out, leaving only her trusted nanny. Commandery princess consort was trembling all over. She did not dare to let the nanny check Li Ruyu's body. The nanny naturally knew what was going on. "Master, some things should be done sooner rather than later." Commandery princess consort closed her eyes. "Nanny, take a look." The nanny took off Li Ruyu's pants. With just one look, she was sure that this commandery princess had lost her virginity. It must have happened last night. Also, the other party was ruthless and did not show any mercy to the commandery princess. If Jingwan knew about Li Ruyu's situation, she would not know whether to praise her strong willpower for not showing any signs in front of her or scold her for being hopelessly stupid. "Master, commandery princess," without the nanny saying more, commandery princess consort had seen it. Her vision darkened and she almost fainted. If the nanny had not been quick enough to support her, she would have fallen to the ground. Commandery princess consort cried uncontrollably and kept saying, "Evil creature, evil creature." "Master, now is not the time to cry. You have to figure out what is going on. Who is so daring to do such a thing to the commandery princess?" Commandery princess consort came to her senses. "Bring the 2 little bitches who followed the commandery princess out here. Also, Didn't they say that she went to Ding General Manor and stayed there for the night? The two maidservants had wounds on their faces. It was obvious that they had been whipped on the way back. At this time, they trembled as they knelt in front of Princess Ching. Without asking, they spilled the beans and told her everything in detail. Commandery Princess Consort was furious. Her daughter had done such a stupid thing. Not only had she drugged a man to sleep with her, but she had also dared to go to his fiancée's house and ask her to break off the engagement. She deserved to be beaten to death. Moreover, in Commandery Princess Consort's eyes, Jingwan was just a little girl. How could she have hit Li Ruyu so hard? There were no wounds on Li Ruyu's body. Take these two bitches away and flog them to death. Commandery Princess Consort, please have mercy. Oh, their master had done such a disgraceful thing. How could the two servant girls survive? Where is the coachman? Soon, someone came down to report that the coachman had disappeared. No one knew when or how he disappeared. After careful observation, they found that he was a lone widower. More importantly, he was an illiterate mute. He must have been afraid of being killed, so he ran away secretly. Fortunately, he was illiterate and mute. Even if he ran away, he would not reveal this matter. Commandery Princess Consort did not bother to look for him. Moreover, looking for a servant with great fanfare was telling others that something had happened in Commandery Prince Chang's mansion. When Commandery Prince Chang returned home, he only knew that his daughter had been beaten. He shouted as soon as he entered the house who had bullied his daughter. He wanted to seek justice for his daughter. Commandery Prince Chang was a bad-tempered person who could shout at any time. Li Ruyu's whip was given by him. Commandery Prince Chang was partly responsible for Li Ruyu's temper. He seemed to care a lot about Li Ruyu, but that was not the case. He was just using this method to maintain the dignity of Commandery Prince Chang's mansion. However, he did not know that the more he did this, the more disliked he would be. This vicious cycle made Commandery Prince Chang's mansion's position more and more precarious. Commandery Princess Consort had a headache. The population of Commandery Prince Chang's mansion was relatively simple. However, meeting such a troublesome person did not mean that they could live happily. The little girl is quarreling. Commandery Prince Chang, please calm down. She did not even have time to cover up such a disgraceful thing. She dared to go to the mansion. Did she want everyone to know? Commandery Prince Chang could only resentfully give up. However, when Luo Peishan came to the mansion, he exploded. Luo Peishan was naturally angry. Since she did not want face, then don't blame him for being impolite. He sneered, beat her. If this old man had such a shameless person in his family, I would beat her to death. Old man, what did you say? Your good daughter schemed against my granddaughter's fiancé. Who would give her to? Sleeping with a girl in a brothel requires money. Your family's girl, ha. Luo Peishan's mouth was really the same as Jingwan's grandfather. Commandery Prince Chang was stunned at first. Then, he was furious. Old man, you old bastard. How dare you slander my daughter? I will beat you to death today. Luo Peishan knew that Commandery Prince Chang was such a person. Naturally, he would not go alone. Moreover, there were other unrelated people. At this time, he naturally had to stop him. What if official Luo was hurt? The result of this commotion was naturally brought to Lu Qingdi. After hearing the cause and effect of this matter, Lu Qingdi was also stunned. However, he also knew the seriousness of this matter. It was related to the reputation of the imperial family. There were so many princesses, commandery princesses, and even county princesses in the imperial family. If something went wrong, these girls would be implicated. He immediately gave the order to keep it a secret. However, even so, what should be known was known. Because it was related to the commandery princesses, the empress had to come forward. Therefore, Luqingdi directly took people to the Kunyi palace. After hearing this, the empress's head hurt. If Li Ruyu had nothing to do with her, it would be fine. However, she was her sister's daughter. If something went wrong, not only would the girls of the imperial family be affected, but also the girls of the Ding general manor and even the Sun family would be affected. She might even lose her reputation. Not to mention other things, noble consort Su and others would definitely take the opportunity to strip her of her reputation. Fortunately, Li Ruyu had always been notorious. Not many people had dealings with her. The empress immediately issued an imperial decree for Commandery Prince Cheng's consort to bring Li Ruyu and Qin Jingmin into the palace. As for the Luo family, Your Majesty, my granddaughter is innocent. If Commandery Princess Yu humiliates her like this, don't let her face this matter again. You don't know. My granddaughter is obedient, filial, and kind-hearted. Many people like her. With her personality, how could she offend Commandery Princess Ruyu? Maybe Commandery Princess Ruyu doesn't like her in some way and came up with such a sinister way to humiliate her. How can she face others in the future? Luo Peishan said with sincerity. His eyes were red and there were even signs of tears flowing down his old face. The Empress and Luqingdi looked at each other in dismay. Especially Luqingdi. What was Luo Peishan like on a normal day? He was elegant and dignified. As the minister of the Ministry of Rites, he could be considered a model of etiquette. He had never seen him lose his composure like this before. Your Majesty, we see that Minister Luo is right. This matter is mainly related to Ruyu. Call her over and clarify the matter. Then we can deal with it as we should. Your Majesty is right. But Lord Luo, who is your prospective grandson-in-law? Even if he was schemed against by Ruyu, if he really wants to be with Ruyu, he has to come forward. Your Majesty, you don't know. After the raging commandery Prince Qing calmed down and learned the truth of the matter, he was also stunned. Now that his mind was clearer, he abruptly interrupted Luo Peishan. Your Majesty, Lord Luo kept saying that Ruyu schemed against his prospective grandson-in-law. How come it wasn't that brat who humiliated my Ruyu? Luo Peishan sneered. What kind of heavenly fragrance and national beauty is Commandery Princess Ruyu? Is it worth it for him to go out on the eve of the metropolitan examination and do something improper to her? Or is it that your Commandery Prince Cheng's estate is so powerful that it's worth it for him to risk his future to get close to you? Your Majesty, you don't know, but that child is also pitiful. He is the eldest grandson of this subject's younger brother. 3 generations of him are counting on him alone. Yesterday, he almost missed the metropolitan examination. I heard that when he rushed to the examination courtyard, he was in a sorry state. Even the local destitute scholars were better than him. This subject knows about that child's scholarly ability. This year's metropolitan examination is in the bag. Tell me, if this matter affects his normal performance and he doesn't pass the examination, what should we do? Won't this subject's younger brother's family cry to death? Luqingdi coughed lightly. My dear minister, he's a man. It's just one night. It's not that serious. But in order to concentrate on his studies, that child didn't even have a bed warmer by his side. He also hasn't experienced the matters between men and women. What if he was frightened by Commandery Princess Ryu's scheme? It sounded as if Commandery Princess Ryu had schemed first, then raped the commoner's man. Luo Peishan's words made Luqingdi want to curse. But you can't say that it's impossible. It must be said that this kind of thing happened to one of his brothers and he was laughed at for a period of time. But it made him very resistant to this matter and he almost gave up. This was an indisputable fact. It took a year for him to improve. Commandery Prince Qing was so angry that he stomped his feet. Nonsense. Whether it's nonsense or not, we'll know once we investigate. Enough. But from Minister Luo's words, this person is still in the examination courtyard. If we want to solve this matter, we have to wait 2 more days. But Commandery Princess Chang and Commandery Princess Li Ruyu have already been summoned. Empress, what do you think? Then let's ask Ruyu first. But now the Empress was in a dilemma. Should she side with Li Ruyu or the Luo family? Li Ruyu was related to her reputation. If she could get her out of this matter and become the victim, it would be good for her. But the Luo family was also very important now. Wait, the Empress suddenly thought of a question. Lord Luo, is your granddaughter the one who made a shocking song in Great Elder Princess's mansion a few days ago? Luo Peishan thought that it was terrible. However, as long as the cancellation of the engagement between third young lady and Qin Jingmin was revealed, third young lady would also be targeted by many people. But the first person was the Empress, so it was a little difficult to deal with. Your Highness, yes. I see. The Empress nodded with a smile. I also heard that she is indeed a good girl. Then, there was no need to think about it now. It was obvious who she favored. In terms of disrupting the girl's marriage, Li Ruyu did a good job. As long as she completely degraded her, she could maintain her reputation. Moreover, the girl of the Luo family could still find a way to completely control her. Previously, when she knew that she was engaged, it was a pity. Now, it seemed that it was the will of heaven. Is she the girl who is liked by my royal sister? My royal sister also told me that the title of 18 scholars that the girl gave to Yuya was occupied by her husband every day. He couldn't wait to stare at her 24 hours a day. Yuyao couldn't compete with him and cried several times. Lu Qingdi said and laughed. That girl doesn't have any other hobbies except for flowers and plants. Speaking of which, Yilin also likes to play with flowers and plants. The Empress said with a smile. Luo Peishan cursed inwardly. There were many people who liked flowers and plants. Of all people, she had to mention Sun Yilin, an unmarried young master. If he said that the Empress did not have a deeper meaning, Luo Peishan would write his name backwards. What? Luo Jingbo was going to marry Sun Yilin's younger sister. Did she want Sun Yilin to marry Luo Jingbo's younger sister? What if the poor commoners changed their relatives? Absolutely not. Lu Qingdi didn't care about Jingwan's marriage, so he didn't think of this problem. My royal sister said that the girl also took a reward. Did she give it to her fiancé? The third girl directly gave the pouch to me. I did give it to that boy, but he said that someone needed it more than him, so he didn't accept it. Lu Qingdi nodded. He is a man of integrity. 2 days after Great Elder Princess's birthday, Lu Qingdi announced that he would meet the 10 people who wanted to receive the reward on the same day as the palace examination. Soon, Princess Qing entered the palace with Li Ruyu, who was still a little dizzy. The princess consort of Qingjun originally thought that after Li Ruyu recovered, she would privately find the Luo family and settle this matter privately. However, she did not expect that it would be brought to the emperor so quickly. She was also glad that Li Ruyu was still ill. At least she could pretend to be pitiful. Not to mention other things, at least she could not let her daughter take full responsibility. Otherwise, when she married into the Qin family, she would not be able to establish herself. However, the princess consort of Qingjun regretted that she should not have beaten the 2 maids to death so quickly. Moreover, the empress was her biological sister. How could she not help her at all? Before entering the Kunyi palace, Princess consort Qing calmed herself down. Then, tears fell down her cheeks. Qingjun Wangfei was not stupid and did not cry out loud. It had to be known that this kind of crying would attract hatred. In front of the Holy One, if she was accused of being disrespectful, then the loss would not make up for it. She knelt down obediently and saluted. Li Ruyu followed beside Princess Consort Qingjun in a daze. She was quiet. The Empress raised her eyebrows. What's wrong with Ruyu? Your Highness, Ruyu has had a high fever since she came back yesterday. She is still in a daze now. Luo Peishan was a man. Naturally, he wouldn't argue with a woman. Moreover, he didn't expect Li Ruyu to be sick. However, whether she was really sick or a man-made illness, it was worth thinking about. Your Highness, my granddaughter originally wanted to wait for her cousin's results to come out. If he can pass, then we can delay it for 2 days. First, we don't want to affect his exam. Second, we don't want to affect his reputation. Now it seems that Princess Ryu's condition is not very good. We can't explain it clearly. Why don't we wait for a few days? When the time comes, we can call them all together and ask them clearly. I think Princess Ryu will be better by then. Luo Peishan had planned to follow Jingwan's idea. The reason why he went to Prince Qing so quickly was to show his attitude. He wouldn't let this matter go. But he didn't expect Prince Cheng's temper to be worse than the rumor said. Okay. Then you can go back first, Lu Qingdi said. Princess Cheng's heart choked. She had just come in and was asked to go back. She couldn't use Li Ruyu's condition to gain sympathy. If she persisted, she would be seen as not caring about her daughter's health. Princess Qing looked at her sister, the noblest woman in the world. But the Empress lowered her head to drink tea and didn't look at her. How could she not understand? Her daughter had been completely abandoned. Qing Jun Wangfei wiped her tears and left with her daughter after a bow. As for Prince Qing, Princess Qing basically pretended not to see him. In the early years, Prince Qing was henpecked. He had no choice. His wife was the legitimate daughter of the powerful Ding General Manor. Many people coveted her. She could have married a prince, but she married the heir of the previous prince. Now, Prince Qing had no power or influence. Everyone said that Lu Qingdi wanted to weaken the power of Ding General Manor. But Ding General Manor was there, and there was also the Empress. If he wanted to do something, he had to think twice. But even so, Prince Cheng's manor had been glorious for a few years. When did it start to show signs of decline? He really couldn't explain it. Just like that, the matter was temporarily delayed. However, more and more people found out about it, and the main reason was because of Jingwan. After the initial pity, people no longer stared at the delicious cake in other people's bowls. But now the delicious cake was placed back on the table in perfect condition. A group of people couldn't help but stare at it covetously, secretly plotting how to get the delicious cake into their bowls. When Sun Yilan knew about it, he smashed the teacup in his hand. He was so excited that he couldn't control himself. God pitied him and gave him another chance. If he didn't grasp it well and let others take it away, he would rather not marry for the rest of his life. As for what his sister was about to marry into the Luo family, under normal circumstances, he wouldn't marry a lady from the Luo family. What the hell was that? It wasn't as if the law didn't allow it. Naturally, he could marry. It had to be said that in an official family, especially a big family, there was basically no such thing as marriage swapping. The main reason was that every family needed a huge network of connections, and in-laws held an important position in it. Between two families, one tie was enough. If there was a second tie, it would generally be necessary to maintain this relationship after a long time, and rely on the marriage of the next generation. Of course, there were those who had a good relationship, because the other family had a child that they had watched grow up. Don't worry, this didn't fall under the scope of marriage. Among the same generation, a second tie was a waste of resources. The more outstanding the child, the less such a situation would occur. Other than the Luo and Chen families and Li Ruyu, no one knew that the two of them had already broken off the engagement. They were all waiting for the examination to end, waiting for the results. Therefore, in this strange situation, many people were paying attention to Qin Jingmin's results. When the results were released, they were even more enthusiastic than the Qin family to see the results. There were a total of 3 red lists for the top 300 candidates. First was the bottom 100. Those who saw or heard their names, even if they were not satisfied with the results, were still beaming with joy. Those who didn't have their names were all anxiously waiting. Or they knew that with their standards, they definitely wouldn't be able to enter the top 200. Naturally, they showed a look of despair, but there was still a glimmer of hope in their eyes. "Young master, don't you want to take a look?" "Look at what?" "Will the person chosen by Luo Shangshu fall below the top 200? What if he doesn't perform well?" "Yes, that makes sense. Go take a look." "Yes, I'll go now." This situation wasn't rare. Therefore, there were a lot of people looking at the list. Many of them knew each other. When they saw each other, they were first stunned. What was he doing here? Their master didn't participate in the imperial examination. Then, they tacitly looked away. It turned out that everyone's purpose was the same. Very good, the first red list that was posted did not have Qin Jingmin's name. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, the second red list was posted. Yes, there was still no name. Then, it seemed that either his performance was completely abnormal and he fell below the top 300, or there was no abnormality. On the first red list, they could directly start looking from the front. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, the third red list was posted. Then, Qin Jingmin, 5th place. The voice was so loud that it made the scene quiet down for a moment. Then, these 6 words rang out one after another. This made the people who were looking at the list confused. What kind of person was this Qin Jingmin? Even the first place, Hui Yuan, didn't receive so much attention. Oh, it seems that his performance is not abnormal. Then we have to wait for 2 more days. Let's go back to the residence. Therefore, many people around who were obviously extraordinary left. When they met someone they were familiar with, they even greeted them. This scene caused many people to be even more confused. Speaking of which, what exactly was going on? Hey, isn't this Qin Jingmin's page boy? Your young master didn't come. Is he going to look at the list? There's no need to look. Your young master is 5th place. Quickly go back and report the good news. The page boy naturally heard of his young master's ranking. But why were there so many people paying attention to him? Also, after someone said that he was the young master's page boy, the attention on him instantly increased. It was as if he had become the focus of everyone's attention. Who could tell him what was going on? The page boy only felt his scalp go numb. Then, he fled. The Qin family was waiting for his news. When they saw him running out of breath, they only thought that he was rushing back to report the good news. How was it? Did you pass? What was your rank? They asked anxiously. Pass, 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 hurry up and say it. They wanted to beat him up. Pass, pass, 5th place. After saying these few words, the page boy was released. He then took a few deep breaths. The Qin family was overjoyed. Fortunately, he was not affected during the exam. The firecrackers outside the door were set off. The copper coins that were prepared early in the morning were also brought out. Speaking of which, the place they were currently living in was a small courtyard with 3 courtyards that the eldest son of the Qin family helped to set up. It wasn't a place where high officials and nobles gathered, but it was still a relatively small area, and it wasn't mixed with those messy people. Although they hadn't moved in for long, the surrounding neighbors all knew that there was a junior in their family who was good at studying. When the firecrackers went off, everyone knew that there was a high chance that he had passed the exam, and they all came out of their homes to bask in the joyous atmosphere. As for the Chin family, they prepared copper coins and threw them out. At the same time, they hurriedly sent people to the Chin family's first branch and the Luo family to report the good news. All the liveliness and joy seemed to not affect one person. That person was the one who should be the happiest. The page steadied his breathing before running to his young master's study. Just like before, the young master was sitting there reading. While he was reading, his subordinates were also reacting. However, the page steward who had been with him for many years said that there was something wrong with the young master. "Young master, you passed the exam 5th place." Oh. He had just finished reading a page of the book and flipped to the next page. "Young master, the whole family is very happy." Oh. The page boy swallowed his saliva. "Young master, there were many people who were not in the exam today. They seemed to be looking at, what? You." Chen Zhengmin looked at the book and did not move. However, the page boy knew that he had taken his words to heart. "So, the news has spread all over the city." Then, he suddenly threw the book in his hand and even flipped over the desk. He could no longer maintain his composure and became exceptionally irritable. "They're all watching and waiting. They're all waiting for me to break off the engagement with my cousin. Do you think I don't know that those bastards are all greedy wolves? Just because my cousin is profitable, they can't wait for me to cancel the engagement with my cousin so that they can take advantage of it. Bastards, bastards." Qin Jingmin was like a madman as he smashed and cursed. The things that Qin Jingmin had always cherished were all smashed and torn by him. "Li Ruyu, that bitch Li Ruyu, it must have been arranged by them. They deliberately ruined my marriage with my cousin. Their methods are so vicious, so sinister. They all deserve to die, they all deserve to die, they all deserve to die. Young master, don't be like this, don't be like this." The page boy was scared to death. Naturally, the people outside noticed the reaction in the room and were also frightened. They quickly ran to report to Third Old Master Chen and the rest. When they heard that something had happened to Qin Jingmin, the whole family rushed over. He had been a gentle and good-tempered person since he was young. Now, he was about to tear down the house. The great joy they had was gone in an instant. Qin Jingmin's grandmother and mother were crying. What a sin, I will go to the Luo family." Third Old Master Qin suddenly said. "Old Master, why are you going to the Luo family?" Third Madam Qin asked while wiping her tears. "Why? The one who started it needs to untie it. Naturally, I will ask that girl to come and persuade him. Otherwise, how can he enter the palace tomorrow and participate in the court examination?" Third Old Master Qin said calmly. "But now that things have turned out like this, will that girl come? Will elder sister let her come?" "No, if she doesn't come, I will kneel down and beg them." Old Master, not only Third Madam Qin, but everyone else was also shocked. "Enough, get someone to prepare a carriage for me." Third Old Master Qin looked at Qin Jingmin again and turned to leave. When Third Old Master Qin arrived at the Luo family, he really did what he said. When he saw Old Madam Luo, he explained his purpose of coming and was rejected. Old Madam Luo immediately knelt down. Old Madam Luo's face fell. "Third brother, do you have to go to this extent? Elder sister, our whole family is counting on Min Gear. Do you know how unwilling I was when I left the capital? If I don't see Min Gear enter the official career and climb to a high position, I won't be able to die in peace. Elder sister, I am already half buried in the ground. This is the only extravagant hope I have left. Elder sister, please fulfill my wish." Old Madame Luo looked at him coldly. Since you already know that you are half buried in the ground, even if Min Gear enters the official career after the court examination, how high do you think you will be able to see him climb? Third Old Master Chen's body stiffened. After a moment, he said, Elder sister, are you really not willing to fulfill my wish? Fulfill your wish. How can I fulfill your wish? Just let our third miss persuade Min Gear and it will be over. Or do you want us to directly put third miss into your family? What? Min Gear slept with the imperial princess, how can it be over just like that? The imperial princess can't be a concubine, so you want third miss to be your grandson's concubine? Elder sister, I didn't think of that. With a bang, old Madame Luo threw the teacup at him. You didn't think of that before, but when your grandson went crazy, he thought of that, didn't he? Even if we haven't seen each other for 10 or 20 years, I still know clearly what kind of person you are. I originally thought that you would change as you got older. Not only did you not change, but you even became worse. Elder sister, if you don't fulfill my wish, then there is no point in me living anymore. Just let me hang myself on the Luo family's door. Bastard, old Madame Luo was furious. She stood up and rushed forward, slapping him across the face. Third Old Master Chen's body was knocked askew by the slap. He knelt down again. Elder sister, please fulfill my wish. Men, beat him up and throw him out. Elder sister, you'd rather watch your own brother die and give up the Luo family's reputation than give up a granddaughter. Jingwan had been standing outside for quite a while. She had heard the conversation in the room. She really didn't expect this third granduncle to be so stubborn, decisive, and selfish. The few times she had seen him before, she had thought that he was a kind little old man. Even on the day of the annulment of the engagement, he was still very easy to talk to. So it turned out that it just didn't cross his bottom line. As long as Chen Jingmin was well and there was hope for their branch to recover, he could tolerate anything or not care about anything. But if this point was crossed, would he disown his own family? It was as if he had a split personality and another personality suddenly emerged. Where did he go? Beat him up and throw him out. Elder sister, grandmother. Jingwan stepped into the room. Don't be angry, I'll go to the Qin family. Third Old Master Qin raised his head and looked at Jingwan. There was still blood on his forehead, but there was a smile on his face. It looked particularly strange. Third girl, you're still the most righteous. Jingwan looked at him and suddenly tilted her head, revealing the naivety of a young girl. Third granduncle, don't tell me you think that I'll go with you just because I agree to be Cousin Min's concubine. How shameless is he, and how shameless are you? Between him and the Luo family, I choose the Luo family. Between him and myself, I choose myself. He's your fiancé. A woman should respect her husband. Where are your 3 obediences and 4 virtues? Then he turned around and glared at Madame Luo. Did the Luo family teach such a girl? Ex-fiancé. I've already annulled the engagement with him. Jingwan said coldly. You're engaged to him, so you're his woman. It's the same even if you annulled the engagement. Do you still want to marry someone else? Shameless. Oh, yes, your future granddaughter-in-law is shameless. You, what about it? Jingwan's smile remained. Talking back to your elders, where are your manners? Oh, that kind of thing. It's natural when facing people, but when facing something that I don't even know what it is, I really don't know what it is. Probably because he had never met a girl like Jingwan, he couldn't win against her, so he turned to Madame Luo. Elder sister, you've taught such a granddaughter. It's too disappointing. Madame Luo sneered. She didn't expect her younger brother to become like this. He looked so normal before, and all his bad habits were gone. If she knew that he had become like this, even if she was worried that Wanwan's marriage wouldn't go smoothly, she would never have betrothed Wanwan to Qin Jingmin. Grandmother, I'll go see Cousin Min first. Since things have come to this point, it's better to make some things clear. As for third granduncle, grandmother, please bear with it and entertain him for a while. When I come back, if he really wants to hang himself in the Luo family, granddaughter will personally find a rope for him and personally tie the rope to the door. When the time comes, if he doesn't go up, I will have someone hang him up. Jingwan smiled lightly at third elder Qin. Chapter 107. Only Mammy Gong followed Jingwan to the Qin family this time. Of course, the groom lurking in the Luo family for a long time was another thing. When Jingwan didn't need him, he was always a groom until Jingwan got married. When they arrived at the Qin family, almost all the people at the gate had left, but from time to time, some people came to ask for luck. Jingwan went in from the side door. When they saw Jingwan, the Qin family members thanked her profusely. Jingwan greeted them politely and smiled. I had no choice but to come. There was already a death threat over there. She was really worried that if she didn't come, this group of people of the Qin family would collectively run to the gate of the Luo family to commit suicide. Well, it should be enough to have one weirdo in each family. It didn't mean that the whole family was weirdo. They heard that Jingwan's words were strange, but it was not appropriate to ask more. It was probably related to the one in their family. Jingwan had been to the Qin family's residence once or twice, so she knew where Qin Jingmin's study was. When Qin Jingmin saw Jingwan, he really seemed to see a living bodhisattva who could save people from suffering and distress. Jingwan waved her hand and sent people outside, leaving only Mammy Gong at the door of the study. Qin Jingmin's anger was vented at this time, but the room was so messy that there was no place to step. Qin Jingmin sat there with his head down. His hair was messy, and he looked like a trapped beast that couldn't get out of the cage. Perhaps he heard a slight sound. Go away. Didn't I tell you to go away? Who let you in? Cousin Min, where do you want me to go? Qin Jingmin suddenly raised his head. He probably didn't expect it to be Jingwan, and his eyes widened in disbelief. Cousin. We haven't seen each other for a long time. You shouldn't have grown into a different appearance. Qin Jingmin got up and jumped over in a few steps, with surprise, Cousin, is it really you? He subconsciously reached out to grab her arm. Jingwan slightly avoided him. Cousin Min, please respect yourself. Qin Jingmin also realized that something was wrong and awkwardly retracted his hand. Cousin, why are you here? Come and take a look at Cousin Min's sorry state. Qin Jingmin's body stiffened. Only now did he realize how rude his appearance was. Unfortunately, he was seen by the girl he liked. He really wanted to find a hole to crawl into and bury himself. He would only crawl out after he cleaned himself up. At this moment, he also realized that his family must have invited Jingwan over. He was secretly annoyed. Why didn't they tell him? He didn't think about it. No matter who came in to talk, he would chase them out. He wouldn't listen to a single word. How could they talk about Jingwan? Cousin, why don't you sit somewhere else for a while? I'll go wash up and get someone to tidy up the study. Jingwan saw that his eyes were slightly red and thought that he probably didn't rest well. No need, I'll leave after talking to Cousin Min. Anyway, I've already seen it, so I don't mind looking at it for a while longer. Is Cousin Min awake now? What? Of course I'm sober. Cousin, why would you say that? Are you sure you're sober? Would a sober Cousin Min do such a thing? Jingwan looked around knowingly. Qin Jingmin was extremely embarrassed. If he wasn't sober before, then after seeing Jingwan, he was definitely sober. It seems that you're really sober. Then, let's talk about serious matters. Cousin Min, I'm very disappointed to see you like this. However, you're still a child after all. There's still room for growth. Occasionally doing stupid things can be forgiven. In cousin's eyes, I'm just a child who hasn't grown up. To Qin Jingmin, it was simply a bolt from the blue. Isn't that so? I'm older than you by 2 years. Qin Jingmin couldn't help but raise his voice by 2 notches. So what? In my opinion, age only occupies a very small part of judging whether a person has grown up or not. A man should be responsible, calm, and think of a way to solve problems instead of holing up in the house and isolating himself from the outside world. You're so immersed in your own heart that you're anxious and indecisive. You vent your anger on others and ignore those who are worried about you. Which part of you do you think you've grown up? Qin Jingmin's whole body stiffened from Jingwan's words, but he couldn't say a word to refute. After a long while, he said with difficulty, in cousin's eyes, since I'm such a person, why didn't you object when we were engaged? At that time, you weren't like now. You're barely passable. Moreover, I thought that since there were still 2 years, you should be able to grow a little when you come into contact with more people and things. Even if you still can't grow into a real man who can support the heavens and become the support of the family, after marrying, I don't mind supporting myself for a few years. If I have my own children, at most, I'll take care of them together. You should grow up one day. Cousin, have you thought about our future? Sometimes you say. Qin Jingmin became cautious again. Isn't this a matter of course? Do you still need to think about it? Moreover, Cousin Min, isn't your focus wrong? Do you really want to rely on your wife and not let your wife rely on you? Qin Jingmin stiffened like a piece of wood. However, the heavens are playing tricks on us. There's nothing else between us except the kinship of cousins. We haven't broken off the engagement, not yet. Why do you have to deceive yourself like this? You should have realized that even if you didn't break off the engagement at that time, there was absolutely no room for reconciliation. Besides, I personally handed the marriage certificate to your mother. It's not like this, Qin Jingmin, don't act like a child again. For the first time, Jingwan called him by his full name. It was also the first time that she called him with a trace of toughness and coldness. And for the first time, Qin Jingmin clearly felt the gap between him and his cousin. Facing her was really like facing an elder who was reprimanding him. Qin Jingmin clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. Seeing him like this, Jingwan sighed softly. In your heart, I'm actually not as important as you think. After a long time, you'll forget about me. You should be clear about what's the most important thing for you now. You should learn to face it and learn to grow up. This big family, everyone is counting on you. Can you bear to let them down? Cousin, I hope that you can become a man who can be relied on as soon as possible. Love and love are a part of your life, but you can't treat it as your entire life. I'm not fated to share the future with you. Naturally, I'll become an insignificant part of your life. As for whether you forget or treasure it, it has nothing to do with others. Cousin, is there really no possibility between us? Don't tell me you want me to be your concubine like your grandfather. Of course not. Wait for me for 2 years, at most 2 years, and I can make her disappear, let that bitch. Cousin, don't think of such a childish and stupid thing again. If we're really not fated, then even if Li Ruyu's matter didn't happen, we might part ways because of other things. Moreover, I'm not interested in being someone's second wife. Cousin, you'll regret it, oh, regret what? Regret not waiting for you. Then, I'll wait for you to become a minister, I'll wait for you to hold power, I'll wait for you to be surrounded by beauties, I'll wait for them to laugh at me for being blind today. I'll also wait to see if I'll regret it at that time. You must not disappoint me. After all, you have a very important step to take now, but with your current state, it's very suspicious. How could Chen Jingmin not know that he had done another thing that made his cousin feel childish and laughable? Cousin, how could she regret it? Even if in the future, he really lived a life of luxury like she said, and even if she only ate simple tea and plain tea, she would never regret it. She was his cousin, the Luo Jingwan, the most unique woman in the world. How could she regret it? When she saw him, she would probably just calmly call him cousin, and would not have any other thoughts. I've said all that I should say, I'll go back first. Oh right, your grandfather is still in our house, he's still making a fuss about hanging himself at the Luo family's door. In his eyes, his unwillingness and ambition are the most important, because you can help him complete it, so you're the most important in his heart. And in his eyes, as long as I'm good, he can completely ignore and abandon me. So, cousin, if I marry you, I still have to face such an unreasonable elder. Tell me, should I endure being sullen to death, or disregard everything and anger others to death? Originally, if he had talked to grandmother properly without those messy thoughts, grandmother would definitely have agreed to let me come to see you. I was also willing to do so, but because of your grandfather's tantrum, our relationship was ruined, and I was forced to come to see you. Everyone knows that being forced and being willing are two different things. I hope you can sort yourself out soon and pick him up. After Jingwan left, Chen Jingmin slowly squatted down, holding his head with his hands, big drops of tears rolling down his face. He didn't want to cry. If his cousin saw him, she would laugh at him again, but he couldn't help it. He knew the meaning behind his cousin's last words. Because she had been forced by his grandfather, she was resentful. Her words were hurtful and she would not be polite, but he did not blame her. Besides, his cousin might not be wrong. He was just irresponsible. A child in her eyes couldn't give her any support at all, so how could she be reluctant to part with him? How could he make her care, let alone make her admire him? When Li Ruyu schemed against him, didn't she tell him the reason? She did, and she said that his cousin was unbearable. If it were any other man, they would suspect that their fiancé was unfaithful, but he believed in his cousin. His cousin was never that kind of person. He couldn't blame her just because she was outstanding and attracted the attention of other men. This kind of man was the most cowardly, the most incompetent, and the most despised. He hated himself for being so useless and incompetent. He hated himself for being so easily tricked. Furthermore, what made him unable to stop his tears was that even though his cousin was angry, she didn't hate him. Her ultimate goal was still to cheer him up so that he could participate in the court examinations tomorrow. Even though she said such hurtful words, her heart was still so gentle. He missed out on such a good girl. After sending off Jingwan, the Qin family found Chen Jingmin crying like a child, but they were still at a loss and didn't know how to console him. Wasn't Miss Luo here to console him? Why did she console him like this? Luckily, third Madam Qin was still rational. Let him cry. It's better than holding it in. Even though it's a little embarrassing for a man to cry, he is still a child. The word child once again agitated Chen Jingmin. Thus, he gradually stopped crying. After remaining silent for about a quarter of an hour, he finally stood up. His eyes were still red, but the look in his eyes already gave off a different feeling. Mother, get someone to carry water for me, I want to bathe and change. Okay, I'll get someone to prepare it right away. Seeing that he seemed to be normal, Mother Qin was so happy that she cried again, but she quickly wiped her tears. Chen Jingmin washed up properly and his entire person was refreshed. However, the warmth that belonged to a youth in the past was probably nowhere to be found. There was a sense of determination and fearlessness. The first thing he did was to kneel down in front of the elders. Jingmin is unfilial and has caused you to worry. In the future, I will not do this again. I will support the Chin family and be your pillar of support. Good, 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 my good grandson has grown up and knows how to care for others. Third Madam Chin was crying and laughing at the same time. She was really happy now. Chen Jingmin smiled. So he was really just a child in the past, a child that made people worry. The whole family hurriedly pulled him up. Grandmother, father, mother, I will go to the Luo family now and bring grandfather back. Also, I will apologize to Grandaunt and the rest. This is my fault, I can't hurt the relationship between our families. Min Gear, mother, you don't have to say anything. I know what I am doing. Jingwan returned to the Luo family. Her third granduncle was drinking tea and eating snacks. He was smiling and couldn't be more normal. Jingwan originally wanted to provoke him, but when she thought that if he made a fuss, the one who would be angry was her grandmother, she couldn't be bothered with him. Grandmother, I'm back. Cousin Min should be fine. The moment she saw third old Master Chin, her cloudy eyes brightened a little. Madame Luo also didn't want to talk to him. My good grandson has worked hard. Go back and rest. You haven't relaxed for a moment these days, and there are always people looking for trouble. It's okay, I will accompany grandmother for a while. After all, third granduncle is old and not very useful. I asked cousin Min to come and pick him up. Now, if third granduncle needs anything, I can serve him. For example, hanging ropes, tying knots, moving stools, and letting people cushion his feet. I can do these things best. Madame Luo couldn't help but laugh. She was still holding a grudge, but her anger hadn't dissipated. However, when third old Master Chin heard this, he couldn't help but stiffen. After waiting for an hour, Jingwan kept talking to old Madame Luo. As for third elder Chin, no one paid any attention to him. Even when he ran out of tea, he pretended not to see it. He took the initiative to talk to old Madame Luo several times, but old Madame Luo pretended not to hear him. He knew that he had completely offended his elder sister, so he stopped talking. Chen Jingmin entered the room, knelt down, and kowtowed 3 times. Jingmin apologizes to Grandaunt. I don't ask for your forgiveness. I only hope that Grandaunt won't be angry and won't hurt your health. Madame Luo immediately felt that Chen Jingmin was different. She looked at Jingwan with surprise. What did Wan say to him that made him change so much? Before Madame Luo could say anything, third old Master Chin couldn't take it anymore. It looked like his illness was about to act up again. Grandfather, Chen Jingmin looked up at third old Master Chin with a hint of sternness. Grandfather's health has always been poor. It's better for you to stay at home in the future. It's better if you don't go out so much. You. Third old Master Chin probably didn't expect Chen Jingmin to say this and was angry. Grandfather, the court examination is around the corner. You don't want me to be distracted and worry about your health, right? Obviously, Chen Jingmin knew third old Master Chen's weakness very well. Third old Master Chin sat back down dispiritedly. Grandaunt, grandfather sometimes has a magical illness. If he says or does anything, please forgive him. In the future, I will ask grandmother and father to worry less about me and take care of grandfather more. What he meant was that he would let the family see him. If Chen Jingmin really became tough, then in the future, he would have the final say in their family, not third old Master Chin. After all, Chen Jingmin was their hope. As for third old Master Chin, he was really useless. It was good enough for them to take good care of him. Madame Luo sighed. Forget it. He is my younger brother after all. What can I do to him? You, on the other hand, take care of yourself in the future. I won't say anything else. However, if you encounter any difficulties, you can go to your granduncle. It's just that your granduncle cares about your cousin Wang more than I do. He's still angry. Thank you, Grandaunt. It's right for granduncle to be angry with me. After all, I disappointed him. Don't say so much. Let's just let this matter pass. Alright, the Luo family has been very busy recently, so I won't keep you. However, on the day of Jingbo's wedding, we might need your help. It's my duty. Then Jingmin will take his leave first. Chen Jingmin bowed again and stood up to help Third Old Master Chen out. Jingwan stood up to send them off. Outside the door, Third Old Master Chen let his servant help him. It was quiet along the way. Chen Jingmin only spoke when Jingwan stopped sending him off. Even if it's just a part of my life, it's not unimportant. It's the most important thing. I won't forget it. I will only treasure it in my heart. Cousin, no matter if I'm a child or an indomitable man, I won't say things like I hope you can find your ideal husband. Take care of yourself. Chen Jingmin clasped his hands and turned to leave resolutely. Jingwan still squatted and returned his greeting. Chen Jingmin's change was also beyond her expectations. However, Jingwan didn't feel that he was rushing things to help them grow. The burden on his shoulders was too heavy. It would be good for him to grow up earlier. Besides, he wasn't considered young here. When they were far away, Third Old Master Chen said, "She's like this. If she becomes your concubine, grandfather, even if cousin Wan's father only has a nominal position, she's still the legitimate daughter of the Shangshu estate. I'm just a tribute student. Even if I pass the court examination tomorrow and become a grand scholar, the best I can do is be a Hanlin Academy editor. What right do I have to make her my concubine? Moreover, even if our positions were switched, I would never make cousin Wang my concubine even if I were a noble. I don't want to hear anything like this again. She has nothing to do with me in the future." Jingwan returned to the main courtyard and informed old Madame Luo. "Fortunately, I didn't misjudge Min Gear. If he's like his grandfather, I'll definitely break off this family." It could be seen that old Madame Luo was really angered by Third Old Master Chen today. "Grandmother, don't worry. The world is so big. There's bound to be some weirdos and scum." "Weirdos? Scum?" Jingwan smiled and didn't say anything. "Granddaughter still has things to do. I won't accompany grandmother." "Okay, you can go." When it came to annulling the engagement, it wasn't as simple as returning the marriage contract. She had to give an explanation to the matchmaker as well. There were also a bunch of gifts that needed to be taken care of. However, all of this had nothing to do with Jingwan. She was still a pure and innocent young lady. Not long after Jingwan returned to her small courtyard, her eighth cousin, whom she had never seen before, came looking for her. This eighth cousin was the legitimate son of the third branch. He was Luo Jingying's legitimate younger brother. He was only 9 years old this year. He was even younger than the legitimate son of the fourth branch. It could be said that Madame Lu had spent a lot of effort to give birth to this son. Unlike Luo Jingying, this child was still a normal child. Madame Lu didn't instill any nonsense into him. He was even more innocent than other children of his age. It could be seen that Madame Lu knew that some things weren't good. She had protected her son very well. Why did eighth brother come to third older sister's place? For these innocent and harmless children, Jingwan naturally wouldn't vent her anger on him just because she hated some people in the third branch. "Do you want to eat cake or candy?" Luo Ba wrinkled his small nose. "No, concubine Huan said that I'm already a little adult. Adults don't like to eat cakes and candy." Although he said so, his eyes were looking at the dishes on the table. Concubine Huan. Jingwan remained calm and collected. She smiled and put a piece of pastry the size of a fingertip into her mouth. "Adults can eat it occasionally. Little adults can eat more. This time, the child was no longer polite and ate happily. Eighth brother, why are you looking for third older sister? I haven't seen fourth older sister for a long time. They all said that third older sister knew where fourth older sister was, so I came to ask. He wanted her to plead with her grandmother to release Luo Jingying. She didn't come and let a child come. Sure enough, even if he asked for help, he didn't have the slightest sincerity. He even used a child, waiting for her to be soft-hearted. Didn't your mother tell you where your fourth older sister went? Luo Ba shook his head. Your fourth older sister made a mistake and was locked up by grandmother. Then I'll go and beg grandmother to let fourth older sister out. No, if you go and plead, grandmother will think that your parents asked you to go and she will be angry. Then, eighth brother, go back and tell your mother what I said. Your mother will know what to do. Oh, I know. Who made this little pouch on eighth brother? It's really beautiful. Jingwan sniffed gently and her eyes fell on the pouch on Luo Ba's body. Luo Ba hesitated for a moment. I'll tell third older sister. Third older sister, you can't tell anyone. Okay. It was concubine Huan who made it. She didn't let me tell anyone. She said that my mother didn't like her. If she knew that she did it, my mother would beat her. Then if your mother asks you, who do you think did it? She's my personal maid. Can third older sister see what's in the pouch? Okay. Luo Ba untied the pouch and handed it to Jingwan. Jingwan opened it and took a look. Jingwan didn't recognize it, but it should be a kind of herb, so she put it back. Eighth brother, older sister likes this pouch very much. Can you give it to older sister? If concubine Huan asks, tell her the truth and then ask her to make another one for you. Tell her not to put anything in it. I'll give you a glass bead to play with. You can put the glass bead in it. Hearing the glass bead, the little guy hurriedly nodded. Under Jingwan's signal, Qing Zhu hurriedly took a glass bead the size of a baby's fist. Luo Ba held it in his hand and looked at it. Obviously, he liked it very much. After a while, he asked, third older sister, tell me, concubine Huan is so good. Why doesn't my mother like her? Third older sister doesn't know. You have to ask your mother. Luo Ba scratched his head. I don't dare to ask. Last time I mentioned concubine Huan, mother hit me. Then don't worry about them. That's the adult's business. Now, you should study hard and play when you should. Don't worry about other things. Oh, I'll listen to third older sister. As he spoke, Luo Ba began to yawn and his eyes began to blink. Tired? Then go back early. If your mother can't find you, she will be anxious. Okay, then third older sister, I'll go back first. Luo Ba bowed. After Luo Ba left, Jingwan's face sank. Since concubine Huan entered the third branch, she had made a mess of the third branch and fought fiercely with Madame Lu. If it was just like this, Jingwan would certainly be happy to watch the show. Luo Ba was Madame Lu's legitimate son. He was like the apple of Madame Lu's eye. No one would believe that concubine Huan didn't get close to Luo Ba with ulterior motives. However, according to Madame Lu's ability, concubine Huan took advantage of a loophole and bribed the people around Luo Ba, making Luo Ba like her. Does Mama know what this is? It's a kind of herbal medicine. It's not a problem to use it alone, but if there is another thing around, it may be fatal. The early symptoms were drowsiness. Gradually, nightmares appeared. After that, hysteria appeared. He hit and bit people. The closer he was to someone, the easier it was for him to be attacked. This was because in his perception, these people were the ones who constantly tormented him and made him restless. If he is tortured day and night, he will either be tortured to death or go crazy. Then, in Mama's opinion, eighth brother just didn't sleep well last night, or is this the case? Most likely. It must be said that these people who hurt innocent children are really unforgivable. Didn't Miss already warn concubine Huan? As long as she is smart, she should know what to do. She shouldn't dare to do anything to eighth young master. At most, she will let eighth young master get close to her to annoy third madam. Eighth young master's symptoms are light now. As long as it doesn't reach the stage of nightmares, he will be fine in a few days. Moreover, the other medicine was a concocted medicinal liquid. The taste was very light and the best time to use it was at night. A drop on the pillow or the quilt was enough. The next morning, no traces could be found. Such a thing was not something that concubine Huan could easily get her hands on. It was most likely related to the prince. However, she probably did not expect that woman to be so vicious as to use it on a child. If she stopped taking the medicine, everything would be fine. However, if she was indifferent to Madame Lu's warning, the prince might destroy this chess piece. According to the prince's intention, anyone who went against Madame Lu didn't need to exist. Although concubine Huan probably didn't know that it was not fate that she met Luo Romping, but man-made. However, if eighth brother didn't come today, I would have forgotten about Luo Jingying. Does Nanny know how she is doing? However, she still refused to eat. The old madam didn't care about her. She just asked people to send her food on time. If she didn't eat, she was immediately taken away. After 2 days, she was sent back again. She immediately ate it all. Recently, she has been admitting her mistakes and repenting every day. I hope that the old madam can let her out. People like her still need to be dealt with in this way. Miss, you asked third madam to beg the old madam herself. Are you ready to let fourth young lady out? After being locked up for so long, it's about time. We can't keep her locked up forever. Even if no one pleads for her, grandmother will let her out before third brother gets married. After all, there will be so many people coming to the residence at that time. There will always be people asking. It's not good to say that she's still sick. After all, we can't wash our dirty linen in public. Nanny Gong nodded. It was good to let fourth young lady out. If fourth young lady was not released, Prince Yu's plan could not be carried out. Fourth young lady was very important. Madame Lu might think that this was a hint from Jingwan, so she really went to beg Madame Luo. Madame Luo did not make things difficult for her. She just said a few words in a neither light nor heavy tone, asking her to teach fourth young lady a lesson when she went back. If there was a next time, she would not be let off so easily. When Jingwan went to pay respects to Madame Lu the next day, she saw Luo Jingying, who had lost a lot of weight. It was in line with her appearance recently when she was sick recently. She looked so weak as if she would fall down when the wind blew. She was really pitiful. However, Lin Mingya didn't know if Luo Jingying was punished by Madame Lu after she went back. At this moment, Luo Jingying kept her head down and looked quiet. It seemed that she really had a deep reflection. However, no one really knew what she was thinking about. Anyway, Jingwan didn't think that Luo Jingying would recognize her mistake so easily. She hated her when she was in Great Elder Princess's mansion. It was impossible to erase the hatred she had for her in this life. Today is the palace examination. After the palace examination, there will be a parade of 3 candidates who passed the grand exam. If you are interested in going out to see the fun, go out with your brothers at the end of the day. There are many people on the street today. Don't get lost. Fourth young lady, don't go out. Luo Jingying couldn't help but tremble. Yes. Her voice was a little choked and there was unspeakable grievance in it. No matter whether the grievance was fake or real, in short, no one paid attention to her. At this moment, the 300 candidates who participated in the palace examination had been waiting outside the palace gate. Because there was still some time at this moment, they were chatting in groups of 3 or 5. It should be known that among these people, they might be colleagues in the future. After entering the official career, there were 3 kinds of people who were the closest to each other, namely schoolmates, fellows from the same hometown, and fellows in the same subject. Building a good relationship with these people would only be beneficial. There was no harm in building a good relationship with them. Moreover, many of these people had fathers and grandfathers who were officials in the imperial court. If they accidentally made friends with someone important behind them, then they might be able to save many years of hard work. Among these people, Chen Jingmin also had 2 or 3 good friends who he had made after entering the capital. At this moment, they were also chatting with him. Those who were close to him naturally knew that he was the one who had received the most attention yesterday. Speaking of what had happened yesterday in front of the imperial list, it was quite strange. Naturally, there were people who couldn't help but size him up. If there was one thing that stood out about him, it would probably be his youth. He looked to be about 16 or 17 years old, but he didn't show the vigor of a young man because of his good results in the imperial examination. He gave people the impression that he was calm, and the coldness between his eyebrows made people feel that he was not easy to get close to. A person's temperament wouldn't change so much if he hadn't gone through a life and death crisis. It was probably because he hadn't completely changed in a short period of time that he subconsciously felt that others were malicious towards him and were laughing at him. That was why he didn't want to get close to strangers. After a few more days, he would probably not be like this. There were many people in their 30s and 40s among these people. They all couldn't help but think that young people nowadays were really something. If all of them were like this, then these old guys wouldn't be able to survive. Xingmin. Luo Rongwei walked in front of Chen Jingmin. Fourth uncle. Chen Jingmin hurriedly bowed. I haven't congratulated uncle. Luo Rongwei waved his hand. There's nothing to congratulate. Your uncle is neither good nor bad. When I received the news yesterday, the family didn't even prepare any money for the wedding. They completely ignored me. Even your fourth aunt rolled her eyes at me. Chen Jingmin smiled. It must be said that the Luo family had been busy recently, and his grandfather had caused a ruckus yesterday. Perhaps not everyone knew about it, but it had wasted a lot of his grandaunt's time. Perhaps the mistress of the family had forgotten about it, so it wouldn't be good to do anything. At this moment, he was a little apologetic. I'm afraid it's because of grandfather, it has nothing to do with this matter. It was your grandaunt who ordered that if you didn't enter the top 50, you wouldn't get a single copper coin. He said that he casually took the imperial examination back then and got the Huiyuan. If it wasn't for his good looks and young age, how could he be the Tanhua? He is the Zhuangyuan. That old man's face is so thick that even third girl couldn't stand it and said a few words to him. Seeing Chen Jingmin's smile fade a little, he knew that he had accidentally poked his sore spot. Last night, his father had said that there was no need to alienate this kid. He doesn't think that everyone in the world is the same as him. Grandaunt's knowledge is really good. I've benefited a lot from his rare guidance. This time, you have a chance to reach his level. Xingmin will do his best. Luo Rongwei nodded. I'll walk around. You guys talk. After Luo Rongwei left, the people around him hurriedly said, Is this the fourth master of the Luo Shangshu family? Yes. With a minister as his father, I'm afraid that in the future, Xingmin, you won't be bad either. After all, you are the future grandson-in-law of the Luo Shangshu. Brother Zhua, I've already broken off the engagement with cousin Luo. In the future, don't mention this matter again. It will affect her reputation. Ah. Why did you suddenly break off the engagement? Is it because of the Luo family? No, it's because of me. The Luo family has been a scholarly family for hundreds of years. They are very kind. It's because of me, He was unlucky. He knew that he shouldn't think about it, but he couldn't help but feel sad. It's not convenient for me to say the details. It's just embarrassing. Perhaps in a few days, you will all know. The few people looked at each other. However, a few people who knew about this matter looked at each other. It turned out that he had already broken off the engagement with the Luo family. They thought that he would wait until after the court examination. When the time came, they lined up and prepared to enter the palace. The order of the queue was based on the ranking of the imperial examination. The gong sounded and two groups of people entered the palace in an orderly manner. Under the lead of the eunuch, they went directly to the square in front of the Hall of Supreme Harmony. The seats for the 300 people were neatly arranged. There were 6 seats in each row, 3 on the left and 3 on the right. Everyone stood quietly in the middle and waited. One after another, the court officials appeared, followed by the princes and princes. Finally, Emperor Luqingdi arrived. Emperor Luqingdi sat on the dragon throne in front of him and accepted the worship. Long live His Majesty. Rise and take your seats. After that, there was no more superfluous words. A kind of chamberlain directly distributed the examination questions and test papers. The moment they saw the question, many people were dumbfounded. What was going on? Could it be that they had cheated in the imperial examination? But that's not right. The questions for the court examination were set by the emperor himself. I believe that all of you are familiar with the questions. Anyone who knows about the article written by a mad scholar, Sun Yilin, in the Untitled Pavilion a few days ago would know that today's questions are the same as that day's. I personally believe that Sun Yilin's article is enough to make him the top scorer. Today, I want to see if there will be a better article. If there isn't, the top scorer today will not live up to his name. Alright, let's begin. Even though it was the beginning, no one started writing. Not all of them knew about the incident, much less the article. In fact, more than half of them did not know about it. If they knew that this would happen, they would have broken up the article and studied it thoroughly. Now, not only did they not know the content, but they also did not know the style of the article. However, perhaps Mad Scholar was the breakthrough. However, those who knew about it, especially those who had read it on the spot, began to sweat. What on earth did Luqingdi mean? The arrogance of that article made them shudder. Did he really want to write it according to that style? But what if the emperor did not mean that? What could they do? After all, how many emperors would like an article that scolded the world? The one with the most complicated feelings was Qin Jingmin. He had also written an article that day. Moreover, he had a habit of thinking carefully about the questions he had solved. If he were to write another one now, it would definitely be better than that one. Emperor Luqingdi's words did not affect him much. Even though he wanted to compete with Sun Yilin, he wanted to write his own article more. This question was too advantageous for him. It was almost like cheating. Speaking of which, the courtiers did not understand Emperor Luqingdi's actions. They originally thought that he had suppressed Sun Yilin's article and did not ask about it. This was the end of the matter. Those who wanted to impeach Sun Yilin would not be able to do so. Now, he brought it up again and even said that it was well written and that he would be the top scorer. What was he trying to do? Li Hongyuan was very relaxed. In his previous life, this year's court examination also had the same question. However, Sun Yilin should not have solved the question in advance. After all, at this time, Sun Yilin had not entered the officialdom. The examinees were all thinking hard about whether they should write according to Sun Yilin's style. Yilin, write another article. I also want to see what you will write when you are sober. Emperor Luqingdi said to Sun Yilin. Yes, Your Majesty. The eunuch quickly prepared the things that Sun Yilin needed. After Sun Yilin sat down, he thought for a while and started to write. He was not an examinee. Furthermore, he had already written so arrogantly. Now that he was writing, he did not need to worry too much. He could just write what he wanted to write. While Sun Yilin was writing, Chen Jingmin also started to write. Emperor Luqingdi drank his tea and seemed to have thought of something. Official Luo, who is your prospective grandson-in-law? Show me. Luo Peishan naturally hit it. Your Majesty, the one in the middle of the first row on the right. Emperor Luqingdi raised his head and knocked. 5th in the imperial examination. What a young talent. No wonder you liked him. What is his surname and name? Surname Qin, given name Jingmin. Chen Jingmin. Why does this name sound so familiar? I remember now. Yilin, the one who wrote this article with you. His other article was pretty well written. Sun Yilin put down his brush and stood up. Your Majesty, it is indeed this person. All right, sit down. There is no need to stand up. That brat really got lucky this time. If he does not improve greatly this time, even if it is better than the last time, I will kick him into the top 3. How lucky was it to be able to write the same article before the imperial examination? This time, because he got lucky, he was kicked out of the top 3. His good luck turned into bad luck. Many people felt sorry for him. 5th in the imperial examination. Logically speaking, no matter how bad he was, he should be able to get into the top 20 of the top 2. No one thought that Chen Jingmin would have a big breakthrough. After all, things like current affairs and policy had a lot to do with a person's experience. It hadn't been long since the last time. How much could Chen Jingmin's experience have increased? Luo Peishan sighed. It was pure bad luck to meet such an emperor. Sun Yilin stopped writing. Finished writing. Give it to me, I have a look. Sun Yilin handed it over with both hands. Luqingdi quickly browsed through it. Suddenly, he clapped his hands. Good, worthy of being the first young master in the capital. His voice was so loud that the students below were affected. They all looked up. It would have been better if they did not see it. When they saw it, their hearts skipped a beat. It was getting worse. He lowered his head to look at his own article. The more he looked, the more he could not do it. Start again. Your Majesty, this servant saw that Chen Jingmin and Chen Gongxing seemed to have finished writing. Oh. Go, bring it up. I have a look. He passed Sun Yilin's article to the courtiers. Chapter 108. Since Luqingdi wanted to read it in advance, Chen Jingmin naturally presented it to him respectfully. In this imperial examination, if one could write well, then even if the content was not as good, he would still score better than someone who wrote poorly. After all, when the examiners read the papers, the first thing they looked at was the quality of the writing. Only if the writing was good would they be in the mood to continue reading. As long as the content was not too bad, there was still hope. On the other hand, if the writing was bad, the examiners would not want to look at it a second time and would probably reject it directly. Thus, no matter how good the writing was, the examiners would not even look at it. What else could one hope for? Luqingdi had already read Chen Jingmin's writing. Naturally, it was not bad. In the beginning, he was rather nonchalant. He shared the same opinion as most of the courtiers. In such a short period of time, even if Chen Jingmin went down and carefully pondered over it, he would not have improved that much. However, gradually, Luqingdi's expression became serious. He could not help but sit up straighter. Seeing Luqingdi's reaction, the courtiers looked at each other. It seemed to be a little unexpected. Then, many people looked at Chen Jingmin again. He was sitting upright with his eyebrows lowered. He was not happy that Lu Qingdi was the first one to read it, nor was he nervous. He was even unmoved by favor or humiliation. At such a young age, was there going to be a second Sun Yilin? Compared to when he read Sun Yilin's essay, Lu Qingdi's reading speed was slower. It seemed that he was still thinking about some parts. Could it be that he wrote better than Sun Yilin? If that was the case, then it was really amazing. Although Lu Qingdi took a longer time, he did not show any joy. It was hard to tell. "My dear courtiers, please take a look." Lu Qingdi asked the chamberlain to take the essays to the courtiers again. The court examination was the same as the previous examinations. There was a time limit. As time passed, more and more people finished. Naturally, there were also those who were affected by the lack of mental fortitude. The more flustered they were, the worse they would be, and the worse they would be. It seemed like they would end up at the bottom of the list. Sun Yilin's and Chen Jingmin's essays had been passed around by the courtiers. Lu Qingdi ordered his men to collect a few more articles. Of course, the closer the article was to the front, the higher the chance of being selected. Lu Qingdi couldn't help but nod at some of them. "Luo Aiqing, did Chen Jingmin ask you about this question?" "Replying to your majesty, I haven't." Chen Jingmin had gotten this question from Sun Yilin. Moreover, after learning that Sun Yilin liked his fiancée and wanted to snatch her away, Chen Jingmin didn't bring this question to Luo Peishan, probably because of his competitive nature. Lu Qingdi nodded. "Speaking of which, Luo Aiqing's taste is indeed very good. Dear ministers, what do you think after seeing it?" "Dear Minister Wan, tell me about it first." Wan Ruizhong stroked his beard. "Although some parts are still immature, there are many original points. Sun Bingbai's previous articles were full of vigor, but some parts were indeed a little too radical. The current article is obviously a supplement to the previous article. Combining the two, there is stability in the advancement, and progress in the stability. It is truly rare. As for Chen Gongxing's previous articles, I do not know. Just based on this article alone, it is a combination of novelty and wonder. There is one point that is similar to Sun Bingbai's, and that is, there is no lack of youth's vigor." Lu Qingdi listened to the opinions of others, naturally he also listened to the opinions of his sons. In fact, for him, the opinions of his sons were even more important than the opinions of his ministers. Li Hongming's comments were reasonable, but he seemed to be biased towards Sun Yilin. Li Hongming's comments could be regarded as impartial, but he had his own opinions. Not bad. The Gong Prince was more outstanding in military affairs, but in terms of knowledge, he was a far cry from Li Hongyi. The sickly fifth was lying in bed again. Behind Li Hongyuan, the one ranked 7th had no interest in these things. The one ranked 8th had followed the second to become brothers in the netherworld. The two ranked last had only been involved in politics for a short time, so their answers were more or less seconded. The ones ranked last were not qualified to appear here for the time being. "Old 6th, what do you think?" Lu Qingdi thought he would skip over someone, but he didn't expect that in the end. Lu Qingdi still chose Evil Abyss. Look at his worst sitting posture, he was so lazy and bored that he looked like he was about to fall asleep. Li Hongyuan raised his eyelids and slowly stood up. "Father Emperor, are you sure you want to listen to this son?" Lu Qingdi choked, he really was looking for trouble. He waved his hand, telling him to quickly sit down, "Don't make a fool of yourself." Li Hongyuan's face had long been comparable to the city walls, and the ministers had long been used to it, so they didn't have the slightest reaction. Even those who secretly belonged to him had long been used to his two completely different styles. In fact, Li Hongyuan thought that if his father really wanted him to say something, he would be prepared to say a few words seriously. Now, whether it was Qin Jingmin or Sun Yilin, in his eyes, they were all young brats. To tell the truth, if it didn't involve Wan, these two people might be able to get his attention in another 10 years. Their views and opinions were still far from enough. Lu Qingdi did not rashly decide on Qin Jingmin's ranking. Instead, he asked the courtiers to quickly look through the other candidates. These candidates were all in the top 20. A few of them were popular candidates for the first rank. When the time was up, all the papers were collected. Although the emperor was personally present, no emperor would read hundreds of papers one by one. It was already good enough if he liked 20 papers, and those who needed to be selected by him were usually the top 3. Lu Qingdi asked a few people based on the papers he had read, and then he had a rough idea. In this court examination, the tribute student Qin Jingmin is the best, but because he solved this question before, he will be demoted. He will be given the 3rd place in the 1st grade, and will enter the Hanlin Academy as an editor. The tribute student Xie Renxuan, although his essay is slightly inferior, it is fair and upright, and has won my favor. He will be given the 1st place in the 1st grade, and will enter the Hanlin Academy as an editor. The tribute student Jiang Wei, whose essay is also of the highest quality, will be given the 2nd place in the 1st grade, and will enter the Hanlin Academy as an editor. The rest of the papers will be handed over to the Ministry of Personnel for evaluation and ranking as soon as possible. Top scorer Xie Renxuan, 3rd place in the general examination. 2nd place Jiang Wei, 2nd place in the general examination. 3rd place Qin Jingmin, 5th place in the general examination. Qin Jingmin's result was unexpected, but his final ranking was expected. After all, he was the youngest and most handsome among the top 10 in the general examination. It was said that the 3rd place was not only judged by one's knowledge, but also by one's appearance. It was said that after every court examination, the most popular person was not the top scorer or the 2nd place, but the 3rd place. Of course, to be able to enter the imperial court as an official, the most basic requirement was to have good facial features. In other words, the officials basically did not have ugly melons and cracked dates. Although the local officials did not have such strict requirements, if they really looked unsightly, it was absolutely not possible. Even if they relied on a solid background and could mix well in a region, they would not be able to become an official in the capital in their lifetime. The court examination was basically over. Great reward for great elder princess's birthday. Is there anyone among you who has the purse? Among the 300 people, there was indeed one person who had a purse. He was sitting in the middle and slightly in the front. He walked out of his original seat with excitement. I'm lucky to have one. Come forward. When the young man walked to the front, Lu Qingdi asked casually. Then he took the purse from the young man's hand, opened it, and looked at the reward written on the note. Go and get all the rewards prepared. Then ask the holders of the other 9 purses to come to the palace immediately. Lu Qingdi looked at the young man who tried to hide his joy but could not stop himself. He laughed in his heart. Sure enough, there were few people like Sun Yilin. Take out his paper. If he can get the 2nd place, put him in the top 10. If he can only get the 3rd place, then let him do whatever he wants. In the final ranking of the court examination, as long as one did not offend anyone, the higher the ranking, the better the job, no matter if one stayed in the capital or was sent to other places. Moreover, there were about 120 people in the 2nd place of the Qi Yuan dynasty. The scholars of the Hanlin Academy were usually selected from the top 50 people, unless one had a special relationship. If one was out of the top 50 people, he or she would not be qualified to enter the Hanlin Academy. Those who are not from the Hanlin Academy cannot enter the cabinet. Although this was not necessarily the case in the Qi Yuan dynasty, after all, there were cabinet elders who were not from the Hanlin Academy. In Li Hongyuan's previous life, Sun Yilin was in this situation. However, this was generally a special case. As long as those who passed the Jinshu examination, there were not many who did not want to enter the Hanlin Academy. Luqingdi put him in the top 10. In addition, it was a reward from the emperor, so basically no one would make trouble. Therefore, it was almost certain that he would enter the Hanlin Academy. Even if he did not want to go to the Hanlin Academy and chose to go to other places, he had more priority than others. The young man was so excited that he clenched his fists. Many people were envious. Fortunately, among these people, only one had a purse. If there were more, Luqingdi would not dare to do this. After all, if there were more people, they would occupy more places for the outstanding ones. Who knew if other talents would be squeezed out by them? Of course, the premise was that the young man could enter the second place. The opportunity had been given. Whether or not he could seize it depended on his own ability. Although the reward could be given to others, if the person was really an idiot, it would be good enough to give the reward in the purse to him. There was no need to think about other benefits. If the idiot was really an idiot and offended Luqingdi, he might be punished. The young man's essay was found and read by the minister of the Ministry of Personnel. The old minister had read many essays before. There were good ones and bad ones. It was not the first time that he had invigilated the general examination and judged the court examination. Therefore, he had a rough estimate of all the essays this time. Your Majesty, this man's essay can enter the second place. This time, he was really beaming with joy and was very excited. Perhaps there were some who couldn't understand this feeling, but the adults who had been through this step could understand it very well. To them, a single opportunity was sometimes really important. A single opportunity might be able to change the fate of a lifetime. The other 9 people soon entered the palace. This had nothing to do with the examinees. They could only watch with envy. Some people with a good attitude just regarded it as watching a fun show. Luqingdi asked the eunuch to check the notes in the purse and distribute the rewards one by one. Of course, each of the 10 things was precious. Of course, the more important value of these things was that they were rewarded by the emperor. They had to take good care of them when they took them back. This was their real meaning. Someone like Li Hongyuan, who was so used to bestowing rewards that his hands went soft, should not be mentioned in the same breath as him. Luqingdi was not in a hurry to give out other rewards. After all, it really depended on Luqingdi's mood. Who has the purse taken by Lord Lingluo? Sure enough, Luqingdi would not watch his sister be bullied for nothing. Your Majesty, it's me. A young man wearing a scholarly robe walked out. He looked to be about 14 or 15 years old and was even younger than Chen Jingmin. He had a fair and clean appearance. It was unknown whether it was because he knew the origin of the pouch or because he was ashamed and angry. His cheeks were crimson red and were even redder than a girl who had put on rouge. There was also a trace of stubbornness in his eyes. This person was out of Luqingdi's expectation. Luqingdi originally thought that the fat man with big ears who looked like a playboy was the one who got Lord Lingluo's purse. Luqingdi's first impression of him changed, and his previous bad feeling disappeared a lot. Luqingdi asked him some basic information. He was the grandson of Lord Lingluo's mother's sister. This relationship was really distant. Then he asked, "What are you good at?" The teenager pursed his lips and said, "Your Majesty, I grew up in the countryside with my grandmother since I was a child. I know all the farming." His words almost made everyone burst into laughter. Luqingdi also laughed, but he did not laugh at him. He just felt that this kid was as straightforward and simple as one of his sons. Seeing that the teenager's face was about to bleed, Luqingdi coughed and then stopped laughing. "Go on." The teenager calmed down and continued, "I know that the villagers have a hard time using water. And I know that there is a thing called a water wheel in the south, so I wonder if it can be used in the north. After many efforts, I found the blueprint. After making the water wheel, it was not satisfactory. So I modified it, and the water wheel is quite good. Boy, are you serious? Before Luchingdi reacted, Mr. Zhong, the minister of the Ministry of Works, became excited. The teenager nodded and said, "Your Majesty, I dare not talk nonsense. I asked a carpenter to make a small one imitating the water wheel, and I happened to bring it into the palace. Go get it and let me have a look." Luchingdi didn't say anything when he saw his beloved official acting on her own initiative. As the saying goes, there are experts in every field. The small water wheel was not big, only about a foot tall. But after the teenager explained how it worked, Mr. Zhong's eyes lit up. "Your Majesty, this child can enter the Ministry of Works." Even if Luchingdi did not know much about it, he knew that this was something that would benefit the country and the people. Good. The teenager could not help but look happy. As long as there was no problem with his family background and he was valued by the Minister of the Ministry of Works, his future would not be bad. However, from his actions, it was clear that he had made preparations in advance. In the eyes of ordinary people, the things you do and know are not elegant. How did you think of showing them? Li Hongyuan's voice suddenly sounded. It would have been better if he did not ask. Now that he did, the others also had the same doubts. This commoner's ancestors were also from a scholarly family, but it started to decline from my grandfather's bad luck. This commoner's studies were also disappointing, but my grandmother had high hopes for me, hoping that our family could rise again. Not long ago, my grandaunt sent this pouch. This commoner thought that I was incompetent and originally wanted to return the pouch, but an old uncle came to my home and told me to do so. When everyone heard this, how could they not understand? He had received advice from someone. Li Hongyuan rubbed his chin and said, "This prince is more curious. What are the others proficient in? Did they also receive advice from someone?" Luchingdi's curiosity was also piqued. After asking, he found out that half of the 8 people had received advice from someone, and none of them walked the right path. That fat-headed and big-eared young man looked like a good-for-nothing. He really was good for nothing. Moreover, he was a money grubber. However, this person had a special characteristic. He was especially good at reading account books. As long as he knew some basic things, he would be able to find out the slightest mistake in the account book. Moreover, he was also very good at arithmetic. As long as you read out a string of numbers, he would be able to give you the answer immediately. It was accurate and fast. He was simply born to enter the Ministry of Revenue. There was another person who did not look like a teenager at all. In fact, he was not a teenager. He was already in his early 30s. In his early years, he did not have any other hobbies but liked to travel. This time, he had almost traveled all over the country of the Qi Yuan dynasty and even many places around it. He basically remembered all the places he had been to. What county, what prefecture, what county, what village, whatever place he had been to, he could tell you where it was. Moreover, as long as he personally set foot in a place, he could clearly remember the characteristics and terrain of that place. A living map. Li Hongyuan could not help but mutter after hearing this. There was no need to worry about getting lost when marching and fighting. Of course, such a talent was not only used for this. He could be used in many other places. One of them had slightly blue eyes, and the bridge of his nose was higher than the average person. At first glance, one could tell that he had foreign blood. However, the Qi Yuan dynasty didn't care much about this, but it was relatively rare. In the aristocratic families, this was a taboo. If such a child appeared, he would not be welcomed. This person was from the same clan as the top scorer this time. He was also Xie Renxuan's cousin. His name was Xie Renhui. Originally, the purse did not fall into his hands. It was given to another member of the Xie family. He had a good relationship with Xie Renhui. That member of the Xie family was favored by the Xie family, but in fact, he did not have any special characteristics. The person who approached the Xie family suggested to give the purse to Xie Renhui. Xie Renhui's special characteristic was his talent in languages. He could speak many different languages around the Qi Yuan dynasty. He could even speak and understand more than 6 foreign languages. Not to mention those who could speak or read. Even the most powerful person in the Honglu temple would not be able to compare with him. The last person was born and grew up by the sea because his father was an official in a place near the sea. Later on, he even went to the sea. What was his special characteristic or what he was good at? This commoner has gone to the sea more than 30 times. Everyone more or less fell sick, but this commoner has never fallen sick. Healthy body, what does this mean? After being an official in a place near the sea, this young man was definitely not simple. Li Hongyuan narrowed his eyes. In his previous life, he had sent people to the sea. The first time was the most tragic. Almost all of them were wiped out. Although the situation was much better later on, there were more or less problems. Those who went to the sea several times in a row would fall sick at least once or twice. Although he could not rule out the possibility that this young man went to the sea not far away, it was definitely not a coincidence that he went to the sea more than 30 times. After summarizing, he found that these people did not think that they were bad at first. Only Xie Renhui did not have a chance. Now that he had a chance, he was enlightened by someone. They were all really talented, great talents. The other people who were not enlightened were all people who relied on reading. They were not very outstanding. Before the characteristics of people who walked the crooked path were discovered and were not valued, the scholars seemed to despise the crooked path. But now, those scholars showed their mediocrity. They did not have the good luck of that scholar. At most, they were in front of Lu Qingdi in name and waited for the imperial examination in the future. But at least 3 years later, would Lu Qingdi still remember who they were? Maybe there would be a new person on the throne. Who is the person who enlightened you? As the saying goes, a horse of 1,000 miles is common, but a Bo Lu is not common. It was a pity that such a Bo Lu was buried in the dark. Not only Lu Qingdi wanted to know this question, but other people also wanted to know this question. Your Majesty, although this commoner is not sure, this commoner has a guess. The chubby young man said. Tell me quickly. This commoner was curious at that time. After asking and getting no answer, I sent someone to secretly follow that person, and that person finally entered the mansion of the Minister of the Ministry of Rights, Lord Luo. Luo Peishan, who was waiting for the answer with interest like others, did not expect that it would fall on his head. While Luo Peishan was still a little stunned, almost everyone's eyes fell on him. Minister Luo, Your Majesty, it was not me. Luo Peishan did not know whether to laugh or cry. Your Majesty, it was the third miss of the Luo family who proposed the 10 rewards, so was the person who gave the suggestion also sent by the third miss of the Luo family. When the third miss of the Luo family made the suggestion, she was not selfish at all. After all, with her status, she probably just gave the suggestion to Great Elder Princess and did not expect to be agreed. She just did not expect that Great Elder Princess would agree. Xie Renhui lowered his head slightly and said, even so, she thought more than others and was more selfless. Is there any reason to believe that she thought more after the event, more than others could think of? Hearing this, many courtiers nodded. It should be noted that all the important courtiers present had attended the birthday banquet of Great Elder Princess, so they definitely had a deep impression of the third miss of the Luo family. Oh. Minister Luo, you don't know anything about this matter. Your Majesty, I really don't know anything about it. Luo Peishan now wanted to scold Jingwan even more. My dear granddaughter, you have made a big noise, and a large group of people have been watching you. Can't you stop? Do you really want me to be surrounded by a pack of wolves? Well, in fact, it was already surrounded by a pack of wolves. In fact, it was really Jingwan who did this. It was just 10 pouches. Because they had to find the emperor to receive the reward, the range of the reward would not exceed the scope of the capital. It was not difficult to know who the 10 pouches ended up in. Spending some effort to find out the situation of these people, as well as the situation of the people around them, was not difficult. However, it was difficult to know the specific situation of those who were promoted in this way, compared with those who were not very outstanding. So, it was not appropriate for Jingwan, a girl of the boudoir, to inquire about the situation of a group of men. Even if her intention was good, if it was spread out, she would definitely be criticized. In addition, she did not want to let others know, so she naturally acted carefully. First, she listed the situations of these people one by one. Those who did not need to do anything, those who could be privately persuaded to give it to others, and those who probably did not realize that their abilities were actually very useful. There were 5 of the first situation, 1 of the second situation, and 4 of the last situation. It could be said that it was very tiring. Then, she asked Nanny Gong to arrange for trustworthy and inconspicuous people to visit them one by one without attracting the attention of others and analyze the situation for them. It could be said that it was tiring both mentally and physically, and she also had to bear the risk of damaging her reputation. It was a typical case of doing good deeds without leaving a name. Nanny Gong also asked her why she did this. It's probably because she wanted to finish what she started. Her original intention was to give some people a chance. Since this opportunity really exists, naturally, she should not waste it. Moreover, isn't it good to let the country have more talents? Good, of course, it was good. In Li Hongyuan's previous life, he knew that Wan was a righteous person. If given a chance, she would do a lot of things for the Qi Yuan dynasty, and she would definitely not do worse than any man. In other words, women were better than men. She quietly did not seek fame or benefits, but how could Li Hongyuan agree? If it was just Nanny Gong who inquired about it, naturally, she would not get accurate information so quickly. However, he handed this matter over to the secret guards and directly handed it over to Nanny Gong, and did not report it to him. Therefore, without him knowing, Wan really dug out a few talents. It seemed that small people could not be ignored and must be valued in the future. As for her reputation, as long as Lu Qingdi said, "Well done," who would dare to criticize her? If Li Hongyuan wanted to raise her to the highest position, naturally, he would not just let her have an empty title. He wanted the whole country to really respect and admire her, both inside and outside the court. It was not only because she could subdue Li Hongyuan. In fact, he did not need to fabricate anything for her. As long as he gave her a chance to show off and let the world know what she had done, then when the time came, she would naturally be able to sit on the throne. Luo Aiqing, when will you let me see your granddaughter? Your Majesty, you can see her at any time. However, since the emperor had personally summoned her, she could not stop. Good, very good. Lu Qingdi was very happy. Luo Aiqing, I remember you said that you dealt with your granddaughter's purse. Who did you give it to in the end? Luo Peishan glanced at the 9 people, and one of the scholars stood up. Your Majesty, it was this commoner who did it. Lu Qingdi looked at him, and then looked at Luo Peishan. Luo Aiqing, your eyes are far inferior to your granddaughter's. Luo Peishan apologized again and again. Originally, he wanted to give a mediocre person a chance. If he had known that his granddaughter would find another way, he would have specially looked for such a strange talent. This person was the child of one of his younger brother's favorite disciples. When he first came to the capital, he asked him to take care of him. However, this child was really mediocre. It was not easy to get such a chance, but it was a bit self-defeating. But could he blame Jingwan? Of course not. In the end, she did not choose the owner of the purse. She just chose a fine horse among the horses that others did not think highly of. If it was not the owner of the fine horse, how could you blame Bolu? However, if there was no fine horse, everyone would have an equal chance. They would either advance or retreat together. Now, there were 6 people advancing and 4 retreating. On second thought, if it was not for Jingwan's initial proposal, they would not even have the chance to appear. In the end, it was up to them whether they felt resentful or grateful. And the person who received the Luo family's purse was also very ashamed. His face was red. It is a waste of Miss Luo's good intentions to let you go back like this. The 4 of you are all scholars. 1 of you failed this year, and the other 3 did not take the exam. How about this? I will allow you to study in the Imperial College for 3 years. After 3 years, it will all depend on you. Originally, they thought that there was no hope. They did not expect to be surprised at the moment of despair. There were 3 kinds of students in the Imperial College of the Qi Yuan dynasty. The first was the children of officials of the 4th rank and above. From the 4th rank to the 3rd rank, the family could send 1 person. For those of the 2nd rank and above, the family could send 2 people. The second was the children of nobles. The so-called students who relied on their father's title to obtain the opportunity to enter the Imperial College could send 1 to 5 people. The third was a group of outstanding scholars in the capital. There was a limit to the number of places. Although the first 2 places could be given as a gift, how many people would give such precious places to ordinary people? After all, there were many children in every family. It could be imagined how difficult it was to enter the Imperial College. The Imperial College was naturally the highest educational institution in the Qi Yuan dynasty. Whether it was the quality of the teachers or other aspects, it was absolutely top-notch. It could not be compared to the Imperial College. If they could enter the Imperial College for 3 years, they would definitely gain a lot. Thank you, Your Majesty. There is no need to thank me. You know who you should thank in your hearts. Alright, let's stop here. The next highlight of the show was naturally the parade of the 3 people who passed the 1st rank Imperial Scholar. Because it was much later than the previous years, the designated parade streets were already crowded. Everyone stretched their necks, waiting to see the glory of this year's Imperial College. Was the top scholar tall and handsome? Was the 2nd-place scholar with a white beard like 3 years ago? As for the 3rd-place scholar, it was said that the 3rd-place scholar was the most handsome. The one from 3 years ago was not very satisfactory.